guys can ask questions after, followed by our players.
Yeah. My Skittles. I'm just here so I don't get fined. Shout out to my boy Schroeder. Little icebreaker right there. Sorry. Thought we'd have some fun with you guys. Boo right here with Chad. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Obviously, exciting time for our program right now. We are on a bus tomorrow afternoon, heading over to Myrtle Beach to take on an unbelievable field in the Coastal Carolina tournament. We got into that about 3 or 4 years ago, and we've got Maryland on the docket, game 1, and looking forward to that challenge. I know our guys are. A very exciting bunch of guys that I think you're gonna enjoy watching. A team that returns a lot from last year. A lot with I thought, a really good recruiting class to add into it, and probably one of the top schedules that we've ever played. Probably the best home schedule that our fans will get to see, which is outstanding. A lot of that has to do with obviously entering into Conference USA with Rice and Southern Miss, 2 of the headliners coming in, but also Ohio State, Kentucky, 2 more that are coming in. Just been really a joy to be with this club. You know, when I got the job 4 years ago, the recruiting started for last year and this year building, and that's why the schedule is so competitive, because we felt like this team was built for this, to make a run. And I think that again, it's going to be an exciting year watching these guys play. There are so many guys. You're going to have 3 here today that we're going to talk, but I mean, we could bring half the team in here to ask questions. There's so many guys that were contributors in this program over the last couple years, and there'll be some new names that you definitely will get to learn and know right away, especially from day one, starting a brand new guy on the mound, a junior college transfer, John Harmon, getting game 1 start. So we're going right away to that recruiting class. But I told the guys yesterday in the locker room, after Todd Stewart had met with them, and said, you know, the hay's in the barn. The barn door's closed from a physical standpoint. Mentally, we're getting ready. The worst thing we can do now is get in your way. The preparation has been done. It's time to turn it loose, play hard, play fast, play free, and have a great year. And so I can't wait. We could talk all night about these guys, but exciting time for us. Can't wait to get on the bus tomorrow. Questions?
You mentioned the schedule.
Yeah.
You guys understand how tough it's going to be day in and day out.
It is. Last year it was the same way. We sat right here and talked about the schedule, and we were one of 2 teams in the country that beat two top 5 teams on the road. It was us in Florida. So we handled the top part of that schedule, I thought, pretty good. It was the games in between there, especially the conference games, that we let get away from us, that really kind of put a disappointing end to it. But not to take anything away from what our kids achieved and the competitiveness. And, you know, I mean, to be in that bus the night after we beat Vanderbilt and the way we did, the way we were rolling right there, going down to the East Carolina tournament, you know, I thought and I still do to this day, we can compete with anybody. So, but when we recruit, Chad, I mean, part of that is, you know, for us to get where our program wants to be, and to be a competitor, to win a conference championship, to be in the postseason, and not just to get there. We've been there 4 times. We want to win it. And we want to get to a super regional, get to Omaha. I don't think that's anything that anybody can't talk about. But to do that, I tell the guys, you got to go find the bullies and take care of them. And you don't get rewarded nowadays for playing a soft schedule. You see so many teams that don't get at-larges, winning 40 games, and they play a bunch of 200 RPI teams. And we're being held accountable for that in our conference. I know in baseball, we even when we're in the Sun Belt, it was mandated that we play a top schedule to try to get as many teams in. So our guys know that from a recruiting standpoint. We're aware of that. What's funny is you always put a schedule out there, and some of the teams you think are going to be explosive sometimes don't. It's you know, you go with the names, and it's awesome and exciting, but you won't know really how difficult it is until you actually get through it. But you know, I'm expecting a great challenge, but I also think people know who we are. You know, there's been a lot of talk about what we had coming back. You know, every day that I see the Lafayette guys last year, they just were so impressed with our club. Very mirrored them a lot. You know, obviously they had a little bit more success, but I think our guys are ready for this challenge. And the great thing again about a good schedule is your minds don't ever wander. You know, you have to focus on that day, because that team you're playing is good enough to beat you. Everyone is, and we're good enough to beat anybody. And I told our guys, if you don't play good, you'll get beat by anybody. But if we play the way we can beat anybody on that schedule.
Coach, did you replace so many pieces of this starting rotation?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the guys who will be playing?
You know, I've told a lot of people off the field. I've even told our team a couple of times. I really think a lot of people right now don't know who John Harmon is, who Austin King is, Connor McHugh, Logan Wines, Kevin Elder, guys that we brought in this year to help us. I think by the end of the year you'll know who our whole pitching staff will be. I really think they're that good. They just a bunch of blue-collar guys. They're going to come in and compete. You're going to talk to one of them today. That's going to be a back-end guy who's been here for 4 years, Brendan Pearson. I think actually the rotation right now is stronger than it was last year. And that's saying a lot because Justin Hageman was as good as anybody last year that we saw. I mean, I thought he was the best pitcher in our league. Obviously, they gave it to the kid at Lafayette, and he had 10 wins. But Justin was the best pitcher, the most dominant guy in our league. And then you lose an Ian Tompkins, who's probably the most dominant closer in our league and one of the best in the country. And those are tough shoes to fill, and a couple seniors. But I love what John Harmon brings to us. A competitor, a left-handed pitcher. He was actually invited for the junior college USA team, declined to come here this summer to get into summer school and do those things. Josh Bartley, who right here from South Warren, obviously last year finished in our rotation. Big win over Vanderbilt, can beat anybody. He's got wins over Kentucky. So he comes in that Saturday slot, which he still may be our number one, but we're going to go left, right, left. And then Austin King, you know, we recruited him over Texas Tech, who went to Omaha. I mean, we thought we were going to lose him there, and this was a great fit, an academic All-American, a left-hander that reminds me a lot of the Tanner Perkins that we used to have, who's now throwing on Sunday for us. Kid only walked 4 guys last year in 70 innings, 70-4 strikeout to walk ratio. So when you look at that, I love our rotation. They just haven't had the innings logged in like the guys last year, but they're going to be just as competitive, not better.
Talk about the rotation.
Yeah.
So some seniors coming back in that bullpen.
Absolutely. That's where we've improved. The options and the looks that we can throw at guys now that we haven't been able to in the past is probably the biggest thing that we improved in the pitching staff. You know, we have Tate Glasscock, Brendan Pearson, 2 seniors, Brandon Allen, there's a third, who are on the back end. Ben Morrison's going to be our closer. Neat story from Bowling Green High School, who was an outfielder predominantly, who's come here and we've converted him into a pitcher. And now he's a kid that went to Summer League and made the All-Star team and up to 94 miles an hour, and it's pretty good. And then we've got those 3 seniors I just mentioned right in front of him, along with Kevin Elder, who we brought from Iowa Western, who was at Arizona first and transferred and was a high-profile kid out of Illinois. And Cody Cole, when Jackson Sal comes back off the Tommy John, which he'll be back in about 4 weeks, he looks great. And you've got Connor McHugh. I mean, we probably have 8 or 9 looks that we can run out right now. Sam Higgs, that is different than last year. You really relied on Brennan or you relied on Ian. You know, you were kind of exhausting some guys, especially when we lost Jackson to the injury. Now we can run 6, 7 guys from the 6th inning on every game and give you a different look. So, which, as you know in baseball, I mean, even Major League Baseball, the best teams have the best bullpens. And when you get to that 6th, 7th inning, you want to be able to shut it down. And I think we have a greater opportunity as a staff to do that. We may not have Ian Tompkins, who had 14 saves, but we're better equipped at the end this year than we were last year.
Missing a couple pieces in the outfield with guys like Trevor Lowe, really fast out there, and
Yeah.
they can bring something to the top of the lineup. How confident you in the people that are at?
Well, Anderson's going to move to center. And for a kid who's 6'3", 210, and very physical, can run as good as anybody out there, and he's got a plus arm, and he's 88 to 92 off the mound. And there's another arm that you're going to see at the end of the game for us, a left-handed option. Trevor Lowe's moved to right, has done unbelievable since we came back from Christmas, and a guy that, as you well know, has put his footprint in our program with the big win in Kentucky down at the ballpark. Just a kid with above-average arm, a good arm, a good defender. Paul Murray has made significant strides this year. A kid was a freshman last year. Caleb Duckworth, who you're going to hear a lot about, the freshman Gatorade Player of the Year in our state last year out of Henderson, who's been sick, which it ran through our guys a little bit, but played great this weekend. Phil Dietrich was probably our best hitter in the fall. So there's a lot of depth out there. Zach Janes, I mean, I could go on. Harry Scanlon's going to be a kid that redshirted for us last year that will be in our lineup from day one, a 6'4" left-handed hitter that can hit in the middle of any lineup we think in the country, and will probably be hitting 6 for us on opening day, which I think we have a very good lineup, and probably playing right field. because we're facing a right-handed pitcher from Maryland, and another guy that you hadn't a chance to see, but is going to be a special player here for us. So we lose David Simmons, and obviously it's tough to replace Regan Flaherty. I mean, led our team in doubles, just did so much for our team, was our captain last year, but the depth is very good out there. Depth offensively is very good.
So when we see Paul Murray in the lineup, how much can we attribute chasing down foul balls to this?
What's that? You lost me on that one.
It was Paul Murray last year who was chasing down the foul balls every game, right? On the sideline?
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sprinting. Yeah, I got you. You know, when you're locked into the pitches, you're not worried about the guy down the line. Yeah, that was the best effort you probably saw from anybody, chasing a ground ball, then running back to the dugout and high-fiving everybody. But, you know, if you ask our players, you know, that guy's made one of the biggest strides in our program. He has really done a great job in left field and really swinging the bat good right now, and is a very tough out. And it just gives us options. You know, again, we're facing a right-hander that was a freshman All-American last year at Maryland, won 11 games, was as good as any pitcher in that league at the end of the year, very competitive. And we're going to try to match up as good as we can against him, trying to get a whole left-handed lineup because lefties hit over 300 off him last year. But it's going to be a great challenge. And back to Paul, he's done a tremendous job for us. But can't wait to see them all out there. Caleb Duckworth's going to be a special one. I got to get him in the lineup.
Your thoughts of being picked ninth in the league?
Yeah.
Just how tough is competition?
You know what? I told Jeremy you were going to ask me that. That was awesome. I'm on you. Todd came and spoke to our team yesterday, and I had mentioned to it, and I haven't brought it up a lot, Chad, because one of my good friends, Chris Finwood, when I saw that, I had to kind of blow some steam off because I really felt this team was really good, and you know, probably the most complete team returning in the Sun Belt. Now we're not returning that, but we've been building this thing, and when I saw that, I just, you know, the realistic thing is they probably don't know a lot about us, so that's okay. But I told the team we'd like to personally thank them in person when we play those guys. We'll thank them for that preseason ranking. But, you know, I don't know how many preseason rankings are the same as postseason. So at the end of the season, it doesn't matter. There is a little pride factor in me. I'm not going to lie to you, and a little respect. But you got to go out and get it. And I know our guys, we're not worried about that. We'll take care of that business when it comes. But it's always great, you know, locker room material to put up there. But, you know, our goals are, that doesn't influence what we do. We've got our things set, and we know what our gig is, and we'll be fine.
I know you like your locker room bulletin board.
Yeah. Yeah.
Conference USA, just how tough is it going to be as a league? Is it comparable to Sun Belt?
Yeah, it is. I think right now it is. It's going to get better. I don't think the Sun Belt got enough respect. You know, last 2 years it was as good as any league outside of maybe the PAC, the SEC, and the ACC. You could put the Sun Belt in there week in, week out as competitive as anybody. But Conference USA, you got some headliners coming in. I mean, Rice University stands alone with what they've done and very well deserved. But Southern Miss, I mean, those two programs have, I think, won the last 5 or 6 Conference USA championships, and both have had opportunities at the College World Series. But you add an FIU team and an FAU team that we're very familiar with a great talent bed down there. You've got Middle Tennessee State, Marshall. UNC Charlotte for a long time has been a very good baseball program, and they'll get back to being very competitive. That's just too good of a hotbed for them to, I mean, they were winning 35 games a year consistently. Lauren Hibbs does a great job. And then you look at, you know, just UTSA, one of the greatest coaches in our professions, Brian Shoup down at UAB. It's going to be very good. But not to take anything away from the Sun Belt, because I thought the Sun Belt was outstanding, and there's some really good programs. But when you take 4 of the better teams on the Sun Belt and you put them in Conference USA along with Southern Miss, and then you add an Old Dominion, you keep Rice, you know, I think as this thing goes, it's definitely going to be a top 5 conference year in and year out. So it'll get really good. Now the difference, what you guys will see, is the Sun Belt was an offensive dominant league. The pitching depths weren't as much, and the fields were that way, and the lineups were that way. A big junior college type league where, you know, the point of emphasis, it seems like in recruiting for the Conference USA, is pitching. And I think Rice has a lot to influence on that. You know, everyone wants to try to match with those guys because their margin of error is so small. So I think that's why a lot of the Conference USA teams will go with that. And our recruiting has changed a little bit with that. You know, if you saw our last recruiting class was dominated by pitchers. and we lose 4 guys out of our lineup this year that are pretty big guys. But we feel good with what's coming back. But we also want to make sure on the pitching side of it, I mean, pitching wins, especially nowadays with these bats.
How important is it to keep Ryan Messick later in the season?
And unbelievably important. One of the best catchers in the country. And I'm not saying that because he's sitting right behind you. It's just, it's unbelievable what Ryan has become and turned into. No one will run on him. And if you ask any pitcher and any defense, when people aren't running and putting pressure on us, you're having to earn their 90 feet. And, Ryan's not, he's an extremely unbelievable catch and throw guy. Quick feet, can back pick guys, but really has taken the last 2 years of developing his play calling and handling our pitching staff. And a good catcher can make a pitching staff great. A bad catcher can make a good pitching staff bad. I mean, they rely on that guy back there, and we've got to have Ryan. Now, Hunter Wood and Ty Hogan have worked very hard as our 2s and our 3s, or both those guys are 2s, and Ryan can't catch all 56 games. So we're going to have to be good with those guys. But it's very important that we don't overuse him to where we make our run at the end. We don't have a player that's half of what he is because we've put so much on his shoulders. But he's ready for it. I mean, the guy's a 5th-year senior, and mentally and physically he's ready for that challenge, and I don't think he'd want anything else.
Seen some non-conference folks come to the ballpark.
Yeah.
Having Ohio State come to the Nick. Now, what opportunity is that for your program to fulfill that type of effort?
Well, Ohio State travels well, and I know that's our spring break weekend. But Greg Bills and I have been talking for a long time. When he was at Ball State and he just got in the head Ohio State job, I was still assistant here, and I walked into Finney's office, and we've traditionally played a Big Ten school. Purdue, Illinois has been down here multiple times. Last year we went up to Indiana. I mean, it's just been a very good fit, and they enjoy coming here, and it's an easy trip for them. And I said, hey, my in-laws are all Ohio State people, so I was like, I'm tired of hearing them talk about him. So I said, let's get him on the schedule. Let's go. And finally, Greg got on the schedule. And I don't think he really knew who we were. And he saw us when we played him last year in East Carolina, and we were up 4-1 in the 8th and really dominated that whole game outside of that 8th inning. I think he really knew this was going to be a great home-and-home matchup. And I think it's awesome. They're going to be a really good team. They've got a couple kids on the mound. Their Saturday guy right now is a high prospect, and a 94 guy. And but that ball can be, our guys can hit fastballs. I'm not worried about that. But just, they travel, they're going to be good. They play the game great. He does a great job coaching. It's going to be a neat environment, and I'm excited to have them down there. It gives us exposure, and we're expecting to win that series too. But I really appreciate him going into that because he didn't know anything about our program. Usually when you do that, there's relationships. We'll have to return to Columbus in 17, which our guys are looking forward to when we get to that point. But we got Missouri Valley's conference championship, or regular season champion last year in Evansville coming in. So, I mean, every weekend's going to be set up really good. But I'm excited for Ohio State. That'll be neat for our fans. Obviously, what their football program did this year brings a lot of attention to that name, and hopefully the Nick will be a great crowd there.
Coming back to Ben Morris and
Yeah.
philosophy, what about his name?
I'm still trying to figure that one out. Nothing rattles the guy. He's so smart that you don't know if, the guy is, he wants to be a doctor, and he's a 4.0 student, and he's got everything planned out, and I haven't seen him ever get rattled with anything. I don't know if we've seen any emotion in the locker room at all, and I think the neat thing about that is if and when there is adversity, and there always is, especially in that closing position, there's going to be some failure at times, how he handles it. And I think his demeanor on the mound, you'll never know if he's bothered or not. And I think that really, he's not with Ian out there, we had to go with Rolaids the whole time because, the 3 balls and then 3 strikes. And then it was just, boy, come on. But, Ian was electric. It was just, Ben's going to be electric, but he's going to be that, like, silent assassin. You just walk in there, and I don't even know if we have a walkout song. He's just going to go there and say, okay, here we go, and walk off the mound like I did my job. And but that kid is, I see the look in his eye, though. That's the thing, when you look in his eye, that kid, he really wants to succeed. And this summer was huge for him because he got to get into that routine of finishing games and got to the All-Star game and did well, and just, he's come back with a mission and a purpose. He didn't know where he was his first freshman year. He didn't know what his role was going to be, and now he does, and he's backed it up. When he comes in, it's BBs being thrown, a plus slider, and there's deception. It's really neat to see, and it's neat to see that he went to high school a mile away from this campus. And I'm excited about that. But I think his demeanor is going to help him in that because he doesn't get too high or too low.
Talk about the challenges this weekend.
Yeah, tremendous challenge. Obviously, Maryland, we don't really look beyond that one. A team that was literally outs away from going to the World Series last year. And returning a lot of their pitching staff, their best hitters are second baseman hitting the 3-hole, a left-handed dominated lineup that I coached against John Sheff. He does a great job. When he was at Lafayette my first year, he was the hitting coach, and then he went to Kansas State, and we played them at the Coastal Tournament again when he was the hitting coach. So from a pitching standpoint, he and I have gone at each other a little bit, and he's done a great job everywhere he's been. Maryland's going to play very hard, very tough team mentally. All going to wear their socks up and dirt bags and just do all that kind of stuff. But they're going to play for a run because they're going to rely on a very good pitching staff, and so they'll be very competitive and very confident. They got their highest preseason ranking in their program's history, so they got a lot they're playing for. And then Coastal Carolina, my assistant Brendan Doherty played there and coached there, and Gary Gilmore was one of the guys that I looked up to when I was at UNC Asheville in that league and trying to build that program. I was trying to emulate as much as I could with Coastal. We didn't have the resources, but respected so much of how his teams went about it. They just hard-nosed, high energy. They'd hit you with the short game, hit you with the long ball, could really pitch. And they're opening up their brand new stadium, a multi-million-dollar facility. It's just absolutely gorgeous. We're all going to be playing in, and I think this is the first year with it. So Coastal will be jacked up just because of that environment. They've come off kind of a couple down years, but a lot of kids returning. And then Canisius, you go, who's Canisius? Well, they won 40 games last year, and they're throwing a 10-game winner against us on Sunday. So, again, kind of a microcosm of the whole schedule is you can't worry about Coastal and Canisius. We got Maryland, and we got to take care of that Friday morning at 10 a.m. Central. And we got the Schwarn kid thrown against us. Chef just texted me. I texted to him good luck and who we were throwing. And, but it'll be great for us because it gets our guys. The tournaments, we'll play a Georgia tournament next year. It's a regional format. It gives you the experience, what it's going to be like when you get there at postseason. 3-4 teams. You're going to see somebody new every day. I think it's great. And you get, from an RPI standpoint, you get to go on the road and be rewarded for winning on the road. And we've opened up my first 3 years here at home, Zach, and now we're on the road. And I think it's good for our players to kind of get away. We get to be on that bus together, no one around us, take care of our business, and then come home and open up with Evansville the next weekend.
Anything else for Coach? Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you very much.